Okay, as we've seen before, in terms of parabolas or quadratics, there can be three possibilities in terms of the number of solutions you have. So if I were to graph this, which is the standard y equals x squared, as we learned when we first started talking about quadratics, it has one solution because it's literally the vertex resting right on that x-axis there, okay? So if I took and did y equals x squared, say minus 3, okay, and just shifted that shape down 3, then you saw that there were two solutions, okay? Solutions meaning zeros. How many zeros are there? Okay, so this is the one solution. And then you also have an option to have no solutions. And if a quadratic has no solutions, it could be just resting in one of the quadrants, turning flipped face, reflected upside down. So this has 0 solutions, okay? All right, and here the discriminant is going to help us determine how many solutions a quadratic function has. And you may not know this already, but because 10.7 comes after 10.6, you already know what the discriminant is. And it's a very special part of the quadratic formula. And if I have the opposite of b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a, the discriminant is this part, okay? So we kind of get a little bit of a break here because we don't have to deal with all of this right here. So let's take a look at the discriminant. So let's look at x squared minus 6x minus 7. So my a is 1, my b is negative 6, and my c is negative 7. I can ignore this whole process and just go right to the b squared minus 4ac, and then let's talk about what we get, okay? So as I'm looking at that, I fill in my values, and I say that b is negative 6, 4ac is negative 7, and as I'm working this out, I say negative 6 squared is 36, and then I have 4 times 7, which is going to be a positive 28, and when you take 36 and add it to 28, you're going to get the square root of 64. And if I were to take the square root of 64, you get a positive or negative 8, okay? So if I'm looking at that and I see that I factor that out, if it's positive, then you're going to have 2 solutions, okay? So if you have that positive there, then you're going to have 2 solutions, all right? Let's take a look then at this next problem. If I have x squared minus 6x plus 9, and I factor that, or I see my a, my b, and my c. A is also 1, negative 6, and 9. So b squared, which is going to be minus 4ac. So my b is negative 6 again, a, c. Let's factor this, or let's figure this out and see what we get this to here. This is going to be 36, and this is going to be negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, times 9 is negative 36, and so something unique kind of happens here, and I get 0. And if my answer is 0, then what that means is you're going to have 1 solution. Okay? And then we're going to do one more, and then we're going to kind of, and then I'll kind of explain to you why that works out to be that way. Because what if, well, let's just do this one more. So if I were to have this next equation, x squared minus 6x plus 12, my a is 1, my b is negative 6, and my c is 12. I have b squared minus 4ac. When I fill this in, I have b squared minus 4ac. Let's look what happens here. I'm going to have 36 4 times 1 is negative 4 times positive 12 is going to give you a negative 48. And when we do this, we get a negative 12, and we've talked about what happens when you have a negative under a square root symbol. It's not something that is possible to happen. So you don't have any solutions when you have a negative, so 0 solutions, okay? Okay, you're going to see when you apply this to the actual quadratic formula when you're solving it. So here's what can happen. If the value that you're working out to be, which is the discriminant, okay, if the discriminant is greater than 0, if the discriminant is equal to 0, or if the discriminant is less than 0, a couple things happen. So if it's greater than 0, as it was up here, you have 2 solutions. And it could be, for example, your positive or your negative. That's how you know. Every positive square root, or every number under the square root, has 2 square roots, a positive and a negative. So that's where your 2 solutions come from. Okay? If it works out to be 0 under the radical sign, the square root of 0 is only 0. So how many solutions are there? The square roots of 0 is 0, so that means that there's 1. That's where it could get tricky, because people say that the square root of 0 is 0, and then they think that that means there are 0 solutions. So it's kind of weird. The fact that the square root of 0 is 0, there's your 1 solution. It is 0. So that's your 1 solution. Okay? And then when I get the negative number here, I see that I can't take the square root of a negative number, which is why there are 0 solutions. Okay? So I want you to kind of take a look at that. It's either going to be greater than, equal to, or less than 0. And you're going to have either 2 solutions, 1, or none.